it's Lance.
I'm Jeremy.
And we are Hard to Master, where we take a look at games that are
Hard to Master. Today, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I was talking to Lance, I said, hey, why don't we do like our favorite games on our shelf? So there are some stipulations I'm going to go over that I told Lance, because he sent me a list. I'm like, that doesn't meet the requirements, Lance. You got to change your list. So he did have to change it. But the things we're looking at are our favorite games that are on our personal shelves. If it's not on our shelf, and we do have, I told him, you have to provide the rule book. So we're not going to be pulling the box covers over, but to show you that we have the game on our shelf.
Thick stack of rule books.
I mean, I was afraid I was going to damage all of them bringing them over here. They are pretty heavy. It's really like a 10, 15 pound bag of rules. So it's just crazy. But that was one of the stipulations. Another was, I said, Lance, you may really like a game and be wanting to play it, but it's on that shelf of shame. Like I have Weather Machine and several others that just haven't had the time to break out, hopefully in the next month or so. But they're not, I've not played them, so right. I can't justify them being my favorite game on the shelf. So I told him that has to be a stipulation as well. Another thing is, this is our favorite games on this list. So not necessarily the best mechanically and designed game, because I will tell you some of the games on my list do have a little finickiness to them, but they are just so fun to play that outweighs that little finickiness that there might be in a game, or a rule that you have to really, stretch for at times. Right. So they're not necessarily all the games that you're going to find on the top 10 BGG list. Some of them might be, and a lot of you may be watching and go, man, I really like that game. I'm happy to see that on the list. But that's not to say that every game that we're going to show you with these rule books is perfectly designed. So I do want to stress that these are so when we say top 25, these are our favorite 25 games off of our shelves. Now I sell a lot of games, I get them, my wife only gives me so much space. Lance can tell you it's not near this space. So mine would constantly change, but most of these have been in my collection for quite a while, and they're ones that really it would take a lot for me to get rid of right now. So.
And I'll throw out there that my list is what I feel today.
It
is
can
subject to change. So.
Yeah, it is. I feel like every time I post on Instagram something, I'm like, what? We're in the cult of the new as reviewers. Sure. So we play new games, and that gets really hot. And
I've got a couple of 2023 games on my list.
Then if you look at my list, we're back to the 2016 to 2019 range of a lot of these games. So I'm going to let Lance kick it off with his number 25. We're going to try and keep this short. We say that all the time. It's probably going to go long, but just bear with us. We'll probably have a bunch of tabs that you can jump through, a lot of them, so maybe that'll help.
My goal is to spend 1 minute or less on each of my games.
So you start the timer, or maybe we'll put it on the screen or something.
Number 25 for me is a game that just came out this year, just came out not too long ago. It is from Inside Up Games, and that is Earth. It was a game that Sam and I got to preview over on Love to Hate. Absolutely loved it from the moment I got it to the table. It's very much like Terraforming Mars and other games of that ilk. You're playing a lot of cards in this game. You're trying to combo your cards. You're playing it into a tableau, and the order that you play it in really matters. Resource management, action selection. There's a lot of mechanics I really enjoy. They go along with Earth, and it's my 25th game of all time out of the games that I own. So, Earth from Inside Up Games.
All right, my 25 is Power Grid. Now, this is an older game. I believe it came out in 2007. This is a Friedman Freeze game. And this game is, to me, what I know a lot of people that they love Ticket to Ride. They have every expansion map. This is that for me. I have several maps. The main box is bulging with custom components, from Top Shelf Gamer and things like that. And then all those maps. I have them all in the base box. I have probably 7, 8 different maps. So I really like this one. My friends maybe not so much, but I think it's a great game. And if you don't know about Power Grid, older game, classic, definitely check it out.
Yep. All right, number 24. You want to go first?
Sure. This was my number 2 game last year, I believe, and that is Red Rising. Now, have read not all the series like Lance.
It's a good series.
I kind of get bored with reading. Maybe it's ADHD or OCD. That doesn't mean anything. I teach skills, so I teach a lot of things. But Red Rising for me, just how all those characters on the cards play together, and they get different scoring benefits or different abilities based on what they are and how those characters interact in the book. Like I've said before, if you watch our other review, because we do have a review for it, just being able to get a set. Like I got a set once that was exactly one chapter that I was reading in the book.
Really cool experience.
That's really cool whenever you can do that. So mine is Red Rising. It's also very accessible. So if you haven't checked out that one, definitely. It's a 45, 60-minute game that's easy to teach to people.
Severely underrated game, for sure. All right, my number 24 game is a game that's currently sitting on the shelf of needing to get a review video out. Sam and I have played it. We've talked about it. We just need to actually get the job done on it. And it was in my top 10 of last year of 2022. So this is a relatively new game as well, and this is Evergreen. This is from Horrible Guild. It is what photosynthesis should have been like. It is the same sort of theme, same sort of idea with the sun moving around the planet, and you're trying to get sunlight, building trees and shrubs and whatnot. There's a lot of spatial placement going on with this particular game. Some hand management, card working, drafting, lots of mechanics that I really enjoy. This is a solid game if you're not aware of it, because Horrible Guild is not a very well-known game in this part, or not a very well-known publisher this side of the planet. They're more known on the other side in Europe. You really need to check this one out. It is a fantastic game. That's Evergreen from Horrible Guild.
We should also say, if we have crossover, I don't have either one of those, but I think you do have Red Rising.
I do not have Red Rising.
Oh, you did at one point.
I do not have Red Rising.
Okay.
All right, number 23. We're at 23 here, and this for me is my favorite Star Wars game. There's a lot of Star Wars games out there. This is Star Wars Imperial Assault. It's from Fantasy Flight Games. Loved it from the moment that I was able to get a copy of it. I played a copy of it before owning it, fell in love with it instantly. If you are a Star Wars, even just a mild Star Wars fan, you're going to want to check this out, because it has all of the minis in it. It's got the bad guys, the stormtroopers. You can buy lots of expansions for it and expand this game. You're playing scenarios. It can be cooperative. It can be competitive. You can use the app to solo it. I mean, you can do whatever you want with this particular game. And it is a campaign, story-driven narrative. And it's just basically Star Wars the movie on the table. It's fantastic. It's my favorite Star Wars games. I've not played all of the Star Wars games out there, but from the ones that I've tried out, this is my favorite. So that is Star Wars Imperial Assault, my 23 game.
My 23rd game is an underrated game that a lot of people don't like. A lot of people thought it would take off, and it never did, and that is Feudum. Lance hates Feudum. I love Feudum. I love the art. I do like, the area control aspect of it and everything, and the hidden combat, the card play. I love the market system where the opposite sides of the boards do play off of each other. Just an amazingly produced game, and the artwork is fantastic that it ties you into it. Looks like it's a friendly game, kind of like Root is, but definitely not that type of game.
No.
One that I can never get to the table, but I will never get rid of this game. I have it, insert everything, except for maybe I could get some extra ships. But
makes my head hurt. It is a brain burner, but the art is good. So, all right, number 22, you go.
Number 22 is a game that we have constantly been playing a bunch, and we will be reviewing more in the future, and that is Frosthaven. Yeah. What I just found out the other day from one of our friends doing the campaign is I can switch characters without having to retire. This might even have been higher if I had known that, because I am someone that likes to play different characters or different factions and test them out. I don't mind going and leveling up that character, but we're several in, and I can tell you, I am tired of my character, and I'm playing somebody else. Even if they're going to be weaker, I'm ready to play and try out some new characters so I can get a more enjoyable experience. So this could end up getting higher over time. Like we said, it's always changing, and knowing that and changing that will definitely happen. But Frosthaven, if you don't know about Frosthaven, the rock needs to move.
Yeah, you're living under a rock.
Yeah, you need to find some to get out of the shade. I don't know.
All right, my number 22 game is probably, well, not probably, it's definitely my favorite sandbox game. If you're not familiar with that, Google it up. Basically, you can do whatever you want in this particular game, and it's got a theme that I really love, and that is Western Legends from Colossal Games. You're basically just going around the Old West, the Wild Wild West, doing whatever you want to try to earn the most legendary points, victory points before the end of the game. You can play poker, you can be a villain, you can be the sheriff, you can do whatever you want in this game, and it is exactly what you would picture it to be. It's a Western game where you're living out your dreams of being in the Wild Wild West. And so this is, I mean, for me, it's my favorite sandbox game where you just run around the map, do whatever you want. Now, there's certain objectives you are trying to fulfill, so you're a little more driven than just doing whatever you want. But, I mean, you can really run with whatever strategy you want to do in this game. And if you get the expansions out there, you can rob the train.
Hold on. It's not if you get the expansions, because I used to have that. And you have to, don't play vanilla. At a minimum, you need to add Ante Up.
Yeah,
Ante Up makes the game, it's so much better.
Yeah, for sure. So
the Pharaoh game built within is much better than just the poker.
Yeah. So, but anyway, that is Western Legends from Colossal Games. All right, we're on to our number 21 game, and Jeremy just mentioned Frosthaven. Well, I'm going to mention the other one, the predecessor, Gloomhaven. And for me, Gloomhaven is probably the game that I've played the most of, save for one other on my list, which we'll come back to in a minute.
I already know.
But I have played so much of Gloomhaven, most of it being solo, because I love it that much that I'm willing to break it out by myself. Now, it's a beast to set up. It's a beast to keep up with it. There are a lot of apps out there that you can download that will help with all the bookkeeping and keeping track of all the villain stats and all that good stuff. So that makes it a lot easier for you. I would highly recommend doing that. And it's a beast to learn. If you're not familiar with the system, it does take a minute or two to kind of get used to that. But once you understand it and you're in the groove of playing this particular game, for me, there's not a dungeon crawler out there that matches it. This is top of the line for me. Frosthaven, I just haven't played enough of it to know whether or not I'm going to like it more than Gloomhaven.
So. From what I played in Gloomhaven, the updates
you
are
like
definitely
Frosthaven.
better. I like the outpost phase. I know a lot of people don't. I like the outpost phase. So.
All right, what's your number 21?
My 21 is a game I just got recently. If you follow me on Instagram, I have played it before. I do want to play it even more because I'm a worker placement guy. There is some tower defense in it, but that is Great Wall. And in the Great Wall, like I said, you're going to be placing workers. One thing I really like about it is if that zone is not filled, that action does not take place until there are enough clerics to activate that zone. So it's very interesting because you're going to run out of workers and you may have placed them and they have to sit there until more people place their workers there to take that action. So you have to be very careful and strategic on where you place people, as well as doing that tower defense mechanism so that you can keep the wall from getting busted down while also getting yourself points. So Great Wall, great game if you haven't checked it out. It's about to hit retail, I think, in a couple of weeks is a retail date, so definitely be on the lookout for that.
I definitely want to try it, yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get it soon so y'all can try it too.
Number 20.
Number 20 is Root. Now, I've played a lot of Root, played a lot of solo of Root. We do have several different videos on Root, the Root bots, the newest expansion of Root, and if you have the right group, this is a great game. I like playing all the different factions. I've tried every faction and just, getting used to each one and making sure that you can help other people if they have questions. It's one of those games where it does take a lot of investment, but once you put the time in and actually get used to it, it's going to really shine if you have the right group. If you don't have the right group and some players aren't as skilled and it's a big margin, you're probably not going to enjoy Root. But if you get the right group that's pretty balanced and you have the right, factions that are going to work with people, the easier ones for the people that are not as skilled as the other gamers, definitely an amazing game. It's on a lot of top 10 lists.
All right, my number 20, in another video that you're going to see me and Sam come out with here in the near future where we talk about some of our favorite mechanics, I'll mention deduction is one of my favorite mechanics, and this is one of my favorite deduction games. It's not my favorite deduction game, but it's close to it, and that is The Search for Planet X. And this is from Renegade Games, and and they've just come out with a sequel to this actually, and I backed it on Kickstarter. But this is a really fantastic deduction game where you are trying to put together logic deduction clues to determine where a missing planet is at on a circular board, and you're trying to race to be the first one to do this. It does use an app, and so you do have to be somebody that's okay with using apps in your board gaming. But if you're okay with that, this is a fantastic classic deduction experience where it is tried and true deduction. I know that probably seems redundant, but what I mean is that you really are having to use your Sherlock Holmes deduction skills in this game, and it's a solid game. Highly recommend it. That's the Search for Planet X, Foxtrot, and Renegade Games. All right, my number 19 game is a game that I don't get to the table too frequently, but it is a beautiful game, and it was in my top 10 list of 2021 back when it came out. It was a game that I was highly anticipating, waiting to receive it from Kickstarter, and that is Assassin's Creed Brotherhood of Venice. Now, if you're a fan of Assassin's Creed, the video game, you got to check this out. This is fantastic to look at on the table, and if you're like me and you went and printed 3D stuff off of Thingiverse to actually make buildings to put the roofs on top of to give it some elevation, that makes it all the much better. You put those ladders on top of the buildings. It really looks like the video game. This is very much about trying to stay hidden and not get revealed, because when you get revealed, the game becomes so much more difficult. So you try to stay hidden as long as you can, you and your teammates. There's a lot of like in Frosthaven with the outpost phase, there's a lot of that similarities going on in between missions where you're building up your safe house and that sort of thing. So if you like Frosthaven, you'll probably like Assassin's Creed Brotherhood of Venice. Beautiful game to look at on the table.
We need to play that Jeremiah, because you know he's platinumed every Assassin.
Yeah, we really do need to play
I don't
that.
even try to get close to. He has platinumed everyone. He's like the
I bet he would
Wiz.
love this then.
He's like the wizard, man.
All right, your number 19.
My number 19 is a game that was number 4 on last year's top 10 list. It's a game by Garphill Games that's different than any other game they've done. This is an asymmetrical game, similar to if you were to, a lot of people compare it to if you took Scythe and you took Root and you threw them in a blender.
Yep.
You're going to
It's a good
get kind
comparison.
of something similar to this. And it is an area control game where there is combat, but each asymmetric faction is going to have different fame or fame points that they're trying to get through different ways. Their boards are all different. Their leaders are different. Everything about this game is so asymmetric, but it's an amazing game. I love this game. There's some new expansion characters, mini expansion characters, and who knows what more is going to come to it. But this is an awesome game. I feel like this was the sleeper of last year. So if you haven't checked this out and you do like games like Root or Scythe or big, heavier, this is a pretty heavy game, heavier combat-driven area majority games, this is going to be one for you, definitely.
All right, number 18.
Number 18 is very similar to another game I just talked about 2 times ago, and that is Oath. Oath is similar to Root in that there's asymmetry, but it's quite different in how the board and everything is played, because you have the Chancellor and then you have all the other different people, and they're trying to do different things than in Root. In Root, you're trying to get up this track to 30, but that's not the case in Oath. In Oath, you're trying to complete these objectives by a certain round, or just to end the game, roll the dice at the very end, and hopefully, you succeed. So Oath is very cool because at the end of that scenario, you're going to take the Denzian deck and it's going to change. So for the next game, the whole setup is going to be different. It's going to feel different based on the cards that are still in the game and the cards that were removed from the game. It's going to feel very different, and it's got a world building, legacy light, they call it, aspect to it. And so it's really cool. If you don't know about Oath, it's hit or miss with people, but for me, I love it, and it has continued to stay ahead of Root.
Have I lost a game of Oath? I don't think I have.
I can't help it that they let you win the last game, but
I'm just
took
saying,
you down.
not to get off the topic.
I
I'm
won the
just
first
saying.
game. You just, I guess, weren't there. So.
And number 18 game, hopefully we're still on track here, is my favorite deduction game. This is going to be my number 1 deduction game, as is Tom Vasel's number 1 deduction game.
More than Veiled Fate?
Yeah, probably so.
You don't
well,
you don't
I
have it on
don't
your
own
shelf,
Veiled
though,
Fate.
yeah.
Yeah, I do really like Veiled Fate. But that is Awkward Guests, and this is a game that is your murder mystery. You are trying to figure out who killed the jerk in the game. I can't remember his name. Nobody likes him. Everybody wants
Steve
to
Martin?
kill him. No, not Steve Martin.
You said the jerk.
This guy. Wait, no, he's not on the rule book. He's on the front of the box. Anyway, you are getting cards in this game, and this is basically like a highly advanced version of Clue, where you are getting lots of cards. You're trying to figure out who did it, what they did it for, and the murder weapon, and you're going to be using a map, figuring out how they traversed throughout the mansion, because that's going to determine what murder weapons they would have come across on their way to the victim, and figuring out their motives and that sort of thing. And it's a lot of deduction, a lot of bidding in this particular game. You're exchanging clues, you're trying to bluff and make other people pay high for clues that really aren't worth anything, or conceal clues that are highly valuable as best as you can, and try not to get those taken away from you. Lots to like about this particular game. It's a little, the artwork is a little grotesque, and it's really, you know, as you can see with the coloring here, a lot of beiges and grays, and they did that on purpose. I kind of like that. You do have to like that tone to the game. But if you can get beyond that, it's a fantastic game that it tops all deduction games for me. So that's Awkward Guest from Megacorpin Games. All right, my number 17 game is gonna be the game that I have played the most. I've played it way more than any other game out there, and that's mostly because of the theme and mostly because of
your series.
It encompasses the universe of Marvel, and that is Marvel United. Now, there's more stuff coming out, and I'll have a video on Season 3 when it arrives later this year, and I'll do unboxings, and I'll talk about all of that and what my favorites and least favorites are, and villains and heroes and all of that. But just focusing on what I have now, Seasons 1 and 2, it's fantastic. I love the the home-brewed scenarios and campaigns that you can find on BGG. I've printed off a ton of them. I go through them. I like to find the best teams. I like to replay the movies. I mean, there's just so much you can do with this series of games. You can play it cooperatively, and now with the other expansions that are coming out, you can play teams. You can play hero mode and villain mode, so you can go against somebody. They're going to have Civil War coming out later on this year, and so you can do that and beat up on other superheroes. I mean, you can do everything in this series of games. I love the universe with this. Got a lot of mine painted, so that's Marvel United from CMON.
I need a buzzer. I think you're over the minute.
I might have went over a minute.
I used to have that. I just recently sold all of my Marvel United stuff. Boo! Because Marvel Zombies is coming, and I'm more excited. So, my number 17, right? Yep. Number 17 is Resident Evil 3, the board game. We just released a review of this board game, and since finishing that, I continue to have the urge to break it back out.
No.
Every time that you can't come play Frosthaven, or we don't have time to set up and do another 3-hour scenario of Frosthaven, I'm like, I could do this in about an hour and a half. It just takes forever to set up because of how big the table it takes.
Yeah.
But I really like this game, and it could just be that I've started Resident Evil 4 Remastered. I'm getting probably halfway through that, and so it really makes me want to get the board game back out and continue to play it. So my number 17, which was a surprise to you. You couldn't believe I had it on my list.
I was
Resident Evil 3, the board game, and it did pop up above a lot of these just because, like I said, it's the ones that we want to get out and play a lot because they're our favorites to get to the table right now.
All right, you're number 16.
So my number 16 is going to be a game I've had a long time. It was one of the first deluxe games that I got, and it wasn't even really deluxeified at that time. I did have the wooden insert, but since then it's become a big box with a lot of stuff in it, and that is Trickerion Lords of Illusions.
Yeah.
I love Mind Clash games. This was the first one that I played of theirs, and ever since then I have been a fanboy, and I back pretty much everything that they do. Whether I keep it later is a different story. Most of them I do, but there's a couple, one or two I have gotten rid of just because it didn't really work for our group. But I love Magic, magicians and stuff. So this theme, I like really strange, different themes that people don't use. And this is one of those that the theme hit me right out the gate. Production's great, worker placement. Everything about this game is great to me, except for one of my player sheets that got damaged by Eric at Denny's one day. But other than that, everything about the game is amazing to me.
This would make my top 8 of all time
If you had it.
if I owned it. But I don't own it.
You can buy a cheap copy.
I know.
Cheap copy.
I know. I should probably get
You'll
it.
just never play it.
I probably won't. That's the problem.
I remember the
We
first.
play your copy.
I remember the first time you came over to play. It was like 4 hours, and Sam was like,
not
"Where
happy.
are you?
Where are you?
You've been there for 4 hours." That was the introduction to long board game,
Yes,
heavy
it
board
was.
games for you.
My number 16 game is a game that a lot of people know, and I'm thinking it'll probably show up on his
mine.
list.
Different
and
rule book, but it's on mine.
That is Dinosaur World from Pandasaurus Games. Now, this is basically Jurassic Park. It's in my opinion, it's the original dinosaur board game. I know there may be others out there that came out before it or around the same
Evolution
time.
or some game like that.
But for me, this is the original dinosaur board game, and you're basically doing like Jurassic Park, not Jurassic World, because there's Dino World and Dinosaur World too. But Dinosaur Island, Pandasaurus Games. Love the mechanics. Love just the whole theme that is tied into each and every single mechanic that's put into this game. For me, it was one of my really first true heavy board game experiences. I mean, it's an older game, 2017. Yeah, we did. Yeah. So, Dinosaur Island, you're going to hear more about it later on in this video.
Yeah, you will. And I'll tell you what's wrong with your copy.
Oh, well, I don't have the deluxe
No,
copy.
that's not it. Well, we'll talk about it.
All right, my number 15 game that I own of all time is going to be It's a Wonderful World. Now, It's a Wonderful World blew me away and made me say, it's a wonderful world that we have this game in existence. This is a fantastic hand management drafting game that you are trying to time when you get your cards played so that you gain the resources before you miss the opportunity to get that resource in the turn. And so you're really trying to maximize the timing with playing the cards and getting them completed, resource management, and ultimately you're changing one cube to another cube to another cube to ultimately get it to turn into victory points for you. There's been some other games that have tried to replicate that idea, and I don't think they meet up to the level that It's a Wonderful World does it in. It's just a very elegant, finesse kind of game. And there's lots of, I shouldn't say lots of expansions. There are some expansions out there for it now that do make the game even that much better. Just focusing on the base game, though, this is a fantastic game. So it's from Lucky Duck Games and
Le Bat de Jeu.
Le Bat de Jeu. Yeah, I knew there was another one out there. So
My number 15 is Ankh, Gods of Egypt. I love Dudes on a Map, area control games. I love the theme of ancient Egypt. I love Eric Lang games. He's one of my favorite designers. I feel like everything he puts out, almost everything, because there are a few, Ancestry I wasn't a big fan of, but there's a few. But pretty much every big miniature game I'm usually down to play and have owned or still own. And this is one of those. Having the Kickstarter is amazing. If you played with the Pharaoh expansion, which I have done a real review on my Instagram, definitely check that out because it makes the game even better. Yeah. I mean, I can't say a whole lot more. Again, this is another one of those games where if you're watching our video, you've probably heard about it before somewhere. So, On Gods of Egypt, my number 15
really cool game
on my shelves. And it's another one of those that takes up so much shelf. We say shelf, it's shelves. Like a lot of these are plural.
Yeah. All right, 14 for you.
14 for me is a newer game that came out last year, and it was my number 3 game of last year, and that is Endless Winter. Now, I do have Lost Ruins of Arnak and Dune Imperium, and I feel like those do give me a similar feel, even though they are very different games. But as far as the deck building, card play aspect, I feel with the multi-use aspect of the card, where within this one I have that Eclipse phase that I can use the cards for, whereas in Dune Imperium I have the end round phase where I can buy based off that influence that I didn't use. So, but I like this one. I just really like this game. I haven't even gotten to do the expansions yet, which I do own, just the core game for me is so solid here as far as the worker placement, doing the actions and what you can do, being able to focus on multiple different regions that you want to find out what's going to be best for you. And the tiles will be different. So next game, I may not be able to go really fast up the shaman track. I may have to do something else. And then picking the different workers so that I can utilize my deck better. And you're going to bury people. Make sure you're burying people so that you can get those normal Braves out of your deck, and then you're getting these more powerful cards. So Endless Winter has been on the hot list for a while, and for me, it's just one of those games that I really enjoy, and I haven't even been able to get the expansion, which I usually try to get to the table. Once I get it, I try to play with the expansion. I have not even been able to. I've played another probably 4 or 5 games since getting the expansions of just the core game. So Endless Winter is that game for me. Number 14?
Yep, 14. Yeah, it's a good game. I like it. All right, my number 14 is a game that is of a mechanic that is, again, you're going to see it in the video I did with Sam. It's a mechanic that I don't really enjoy too often, and I only have 2 games on my list. This is number 2 of the 2 games that I have, and that's Area Control. I'm not a huge Area Control fan, but this is a game that I don't lose too often. When I play this game, I win more often than not, and that is The Godfather, Corleone's Empire.
Because everybody attacks me. That's
I don't know. I can't tell you why.
Because everybody car bombs
This is a
me,
game
yeah.
that I'm actually pretty good at, and I love the theme of it. I love the backstabbing treachery that goes along with it, which generally I don't like that, but I mean
It's very take that.
It is so much take
It's a
that you
blast.
can kind of get by and not be too offended that somebody car bombed you and killed all your dudes.
Oh, no, you just go right back out.
You go right back at it.
Yeah.
This is a game where you need revenge.
It's a
and you need to,
slugfest.
you got to get revenge in this game. And I just like the whole mechanic of stashing your money and trying to do that as often as you can, but trying to be discreet
Well,
about
they can
it.
steal your money, too.
They can steal your money, but you don't want to give it away that you've stashed lots of money into your suitcase, because then people are going to target you and they're going to take you out. And so you want to be discreet about it and get a little money here, get a little money there.
It's also worker placement.
It is worker placement. There's a lot to like about this game. The miniatures are really cool.
You need to paint them.
I do need to
Like
get mine
mine.
painted. Yeah, this. If you like the movies, you need to check this out. So
Still on that paint
Yeah.
job.
all right, my number 13 game of all time that I own is a game that used to be really high up on my list, and then some other games have kind of knocked it down. And that is The Castles of Mad King Ludwig. Now, I don't have the really nice Deluxeified Collector's Edition. He's laughing because
I've
he
owned it twice. I've sold it twice. I had the original with the wooden Meeple Realty insert, which they're back in business now, post-COVID. But had the original.
Yeah.
Sold it. My wife loved it. I bought the deluxe. She said she didn't want to play it, so I sold the deluxe. I'm like, I bought this game just for you.
But I love this game. It's one of the oldest games that I've owned, and I've got a custom insert that I made that looks like a castle inside of it, so it really adds to the theme. And you play with the insert on the table.
I only build dungeons now.
It's so much fun, dude.
No one gives me money, and so I only build. I only build downstairs anymore.
Yeah.
I'm like, this
Yeah.
is my layer. Like
Yeah.
that's how I feel every time I play that game now.
For me, it's one of my favorite bidding games. It is, and tile laying too. You're creating a castle, which is a cool concept to begin with.
It's a floor plan.
Yeah, and
basically.
it's just a really fun game. So it's a classic game, kind of like Power Grid is a classic for Jeremy. That's a classic for me. So
What 2014?
it was
Boom,
2014.
2014. Called it.
Yeah, I wrote them down. All right, you're
Called
number
it.
13.
My number 13 is another Eric Lang game, but this one is Cthulhu Death May Die, which I do have a lot of the new stuff coming. I don't have the big, giant Cthulhu, unfortunately. I just want to play that mission once. But in Death May Die, you want to boost up your insanity so you can get more powerful. That's a very big portion of the game. In addition to, you have to do different things before you can attack the elder one. So the fact that you have 6 in the core game, you have, I think, 6 different episodes you can play and mix in the different bosses. But then you have the other boxes and you have all these other episodes. You can mix in all the other bosses with these other episodes. And the way that they did it, like an episodic series, like a TV show, I remember when he first talked about this, I think BGG years ago, I was watching the live stream, and I was like, man, it's just like popping a VHS tape in and watching the episode of Supernatural or something. And this, I mean, of all the Cthulhu games, this is my favorite one. It's not my, I like horror-themed games, and so Cthulhu games are cool. This is the one, though. Being able to play just like similar to any other dungeon crawl with miniatures, this is the one. The one thing I'm wondering and maybe a little worried about is I got Lobotomy 2, and I'm really excited about that. And you go insane in an insane asylum.
This game out.
So it's very similar, and I've yet to play it yet, but I wanted the original Lobotomy before this came out. And so I was like, oh, now's my chance. I got some money. Let me buy Lobotomy 2, and I've not played it. But I feel like I have so much more of this to paint now that the new season's come out, so I'll be probably not getting rid of it.
All right, you're number 12.
My number 12 is a game Lance has already said, but I'm going to tell you what will make his copy better, and that is Totally Liquid.
Yeah.
Anybody watching this video that does not have the Totally Liquid expansion and you see it for cheap, I saw somebody post the base game and the expansion for $80 to steal. Anytime I see anybody selling the expansion at a game swap, I try to sell for that person. One of the best expansions ever made right here. The blueprints alone make this game
They do.
through the roof.
They do. They
Then you're adding in, a fifth player. You got water dinos. You got all these executive workers that you're going to do. It's a modular expansion, but what it adds to the game takes it to a whole new level.
Yeah.
Way better than the core. Now, the core is still a very solid Jurassic Park game. The blueprints and everything in this box makes it way better. So if you ever see the Totally Liquid expansion, I'm telling you right now, and you have Dinosaur Island, you need to find it. You need to buy it, especially if you see it for under $100, because some people are selling it for ridiculous amounts.
Yeah.
And it's never going to be reprinted again.
Yeah.
There's no plans to reprint that expansion. It's done for, but it's amazing if you have that.
As soon as I stop buying games, I'll get that. So probably never.
I mean, I say that
But
all
you're
the
right.
time.
I do need to get it.
I say that all the
it.
time, and I just sell and buy something else.
Surprisingly for me, I was shocked that this was not higher on my list, because for the longest time, this was in my top 5. In fact, I'm doing a video. I've already filmed it, a solo video on this game here and the expansion for it. And I think in that video I might have mentioned that it was in my top 5. Well, it's actually my 11th game. So it is not. But
He says this all the time. I tell you all the time. Everything's in his top 10.
it could change every day. It could change. But that is
Did it change just now?
No. This is it.
Okay,
This is it for today.
Just making sure.
This is Crusaders Thy Will Be
solid
Done.
game.
It is a fantastic game. It is from now defunct TMG, Tasty Minstrel Games, but Renegade Games picked it up, and so you can get it through them now.
And the deluxe version.
And the deluxe
if it's
version,
still in
yes.
stock.
But this is my favorite Rondell game. And if you're not familiar with that mechanic, it's not used a whole lot. It's the idea that you've got a circular board. In this case, each player has their own circular board, and it's action selection where you're moving your action bits around this rondelle and dropping them off. And so you need to strategize and work that out to maximize the actions you're selecting to maximize their power throughout the course of the game.
But your knight's going to dictate how,
Yes.
and definitely change for each player.
Yes, yeah. Each player, it's. I wouldn't say it's asymmetrical, but there are player
You have a
abilities
player power that's
that really
asymmetrical.
shake up how the game feels for you and how it plays out.
Everybody's
So,
going to have a little difference.
yeah,
variation.
and for me, I just love the mechanics with this game. The theme can be a little rough for some people. It is the Crusades, and that's not that's not something that sits easy on the palate. But if you can get beyond that, then there's a lot to really like about this particular game.
I have Deluxified. I'm the one that introduced you to the game.
Yes, yeah.
I do really enjoy the game. It did not make my list. As you can see, there's some heck of an amazing game. I only have about 80 games in my collection. It's a revolving door, and these are the top 25. That's one I've kept since the Kickstarter, and I have no plans of ever getting rid of it.
Yeah.
However, I do not think the expansion is necessary. I think the base game there is
Which
by far the
we'll
best.
talk about in
I'm
that
just
video.
saying, I won't be in the video, so I understand. I think the core game is
Yeah.
just enough. It's perfect.
I agree with Jeremy here.
My number 11.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
There's a game Lance has already told you. I have a painted copy. I got to steal up a paint job, $125 for the whole thing fully painted, and that is Godfather Corleone's Empire. Like we've already said, I'm not going to spend a lot of time. It's amazing time at the table, very cutthroat slugfest. You're taking people out, they're taking you out. I get taken out by everybody more than anybody, and it's still just fun. And I mean, it's just one of them games. Very underrated game. They were selling it at Ross for $25 for a long time. A lot of people know it's out of stock now and not being reproduced. So guess what? Now they're bumping their price back up. This is a very, very underrated worker placement, area control, dudes on a map game. Definitely, if you haven't tried it, I've talked to a couple of people. I think in my interview on Instagram, I talked to Board Game Pixels about it, and he really wants to check out this game, and it's just a blast.
Oh, yeah.
That's all I can say.
Yep.
It's a blast. Not only the car bomb, but just a blast.
So thematic. All right, number 11 for
Number
me.
10.
I'm on 11.
Oh.
I think you might have jumped ahead.
Well, we skipped.
We're
Let me
gonna
go
cut
first.
this video and put it
we don't
together.
need to cut it. Just keep going. It's my turn to go first. I've been letting you go first.
My number 11 game is a game that was I think this was my number 1 game from last year.
I think
at
one
least
or two, I think.
on my video with Sam where we talk about our favorite games for casual gamers, which that's what Love to Hate's all about. This is Foundations of Rome, and this comes from Arcane Wonders. And man, this has got to be the most beautiful game that I own. It's the most like you just look at it and it shocks you just how detailed the miniatures are, how many miniatures there are in this game.
You need to paint them.
I do need to get them painted. You're right.
Or wash them
at least wash them for sure. But yeah, this is a game that has table presence. It is a lighter game, and I think a lot of people knock it for it being so light. I can tell you, add in the modular expansions to this. Get the Kickstarter that it had just came out this last few months ago. It adds a lot to the game, and it's going to make it a heavier experience for you. And so this is going to appeal to a lot of people. Now, I will say it's expensive. It's kind of hard to get. But otherwise, it's a fantastic game. Mm-hmm. Just love looking at it. I hate tearing it down because it's just so darn pretty.
Number 10.
All right, now we're on 10.
Now we're on 10.
All right,
top 10.
Top 10. These are our top 10.
In our collection, and you're going to see some big names on this list.
right.
I know my list has some really big games that you have. If you've not heard of these games, whoa, man.
All right.
You are new to board games.
My number 10 game is a game that people either really love or they're not too impressed with it. And I think those that aren't too impressed with it need to play it more and give it more of a chance, because you get into the campaign of the initiative and it sucks you in. There's so much theme, so much story, so much intrigue with this game. It does a lot of escape room type elements to it that I've never seen any other escape room type game do, but it's not an escape room game, if that makes sense. The gameplay with this is
a decoder.
Is pretty light, but besides that, everything else that adds into the experience with this game is unlike any other game that I've ever played. Both Sam and I were blown away when we played it. We played through the entire base mission campaign, which I think is 17 missions long, and there are other missions you can download off of their website. This game just bangs for me. It is a home run for me. I love the theme to it too. The game, the book is like a comic book.
I'm just remembering when we were at the convention, you were talking to Jay about it, and
Jay
he was just
Cormier.
kind of like, I don't know.
I've never heard that game. Oh, you need to check it out, Jay.
My game is a comic game. That game is. So I was like, oh yeah.
All right, what's your 10?
My number 10, it was my number 2 game last year, and that is the game that no one can pronounce in the world. Tilatum, the T game.
Tilatum.
Newest T game by Board and Dice. We do have a review on our channel. Definitely check that out if you're wanting to know more about it. But in this game, it's all about bonuses and chaining these bonuses. You are going to be selecting a die, which will give you so many action points. I like action points in different games, and so the dice drafting is good, but I do like the action points, and then the idea of how can I chain all of these bonus actions so I can maximize this turn. And if you play with people and you see their first turn after you've made a turn that you're like, didn't know what you're doing, then it clicks and you're like, okay, that's how you have a big turn. That's what I need to do. Try to chain all of these different things so I can have just these magnificent turns.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it would be on my list if I own it. And the only reason I don't own
that's
it
the
is
one
he owns it.
That's the one he was like, can I put one that you own? I'm like, no, your shelves, not my shelves, your shelves.
Yeah, it would be in my top 5 if I owned a copy of it. That's how much I
You
like
just play
it.
mine.
I know. That's why I don't own it.
I already
so.
upgraded it, so.
Number 9.
My number 9 is a very thematic game. It's a game that every time we play it, which is not very often, it takes a lot of time. It'll be probably the only game we play that night. But it's an amazing game. I have the majority of everything you can get. And I did group this one like another one you're going to see later. And that is going to be Nemesis in general. Although I do think I like Nemesis Lockdown a little bit better. But Nemesis, the board game, or Nemesis Lockdown is Alien, the true Alien, the board game, where there could be a traitor. One of my friends loves being a traitor now. He's new to games, but he loves being a traitor. I mean, the growing sense.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I was a janitor just doing my own thing, cleaning up by myself.
You're evil!
And then next thing you know, somebody's trying to take me out.
Because he's the traitor.
And I told him he was trying to take me out, and we stopped him. But it's an amazing time at the table, just like Godfather. Very thematic, very fun. It is going to take some time. There is some fiddliness here and there at times, but it's just so thematic and such a blast.
Yeah.
And there are so many different monster or alien types that you can use now if you have both boxes. And there's a new one coming, which, you know me, I'm probably going to not have room on the shelf and have to sell some stuff to get Nemesis Retaliation. If you don't know, go to GameFound. You can probably click like I have to let them notify you. We're not sponsored by them, but I'm just telling you, if you don't, Nemesis is awesome. And I think right now it's on sale. I swear I saw like Miniature Market post Nemesis Lockdown for like $110. Now by the time you watch this, it won't be, but maybe you'll find it on sale somewhere.
It's truly one of the few games that
it's hard for people to own, but if you can play with someone that has it, you'll really enjoy it.
When the aliens show up, I'm truly like, oh no, like I am scared, like I'm devastated.
They're strong.
Oh my gosh!
And if you're not prepared, you
panic a little bit.
You're just kind of done. Yeah. Like especially if you're by yourself. Like it's very thematic.
Yeah. All right, my number 9. We're on 9, right? Yeah. Okay, my number 9 is from a designer that I absolutely love, and I keep most of his games when I get them to my way, whether I get them sent to me or I buy them. That's Uwe Rosenberg. It's my favorite Uwe Rosenberg game, and that is A Feast for Odin. This is a game that I've owned for a very long time. It is a heavy game. It is a game that takes up a bunch of space, and it's going to combine lots of different mechanics. It has, in my opinion, and this may be a fact, this may not just be my opinion, but it has the most worker placement options on a game board. I think there's like 70 some odd spots you can put a worker, something like that. I might be exaggerating a little bit, but this game is intense. It's nuts what you are trying to accomplish in this particular game. Because of that, there is a learning curve with it, but if you're playing with a bunch of people who know how the game works, it is a fantastic experience. It's my favorite polyomino kind of game. You're trying to get all these little tiny pieces to fit in your board. It's like Tetris on steroids. There's a lot to like about this game. I was
looking at your list, and I was kind of hoping I'd never hear the word polyomino.
Oh, come on, Jeremy.
He says polyomino, and I know we're going down a rabbit hole.
Oh, man, we're going to fight over that.
That's your favorite. I'm like, I'll play it.
He checks out as soon as he hears me say that.
It's often.
Number 8.
All right, my number 8 game is, in all honesty, probably the one on my list that I've played the least. And that's only because I haven't had enough time to really play it. I've only owned it for about a year now, and I did a video on the official solo variant that they came out with, and you can download it on BGG. That's Whistle Mountain. This is a game in which you are going to be doing action selection worker placement around the outside of the board, it's not, I guess it is polyomino. Here's another polyomino game. You are placing these tiles that are Tetris-like pieces onto a grid in the center of the board, but that's only part of the idea of what you're trying to accomplish with this game. There's a lot of spatial elements with this particular game. It's worker placement. For me, this is a game. This is a really brain burner experience that I absolutely enjoy. And even at the solo experience with this one, this is one of my favorite solo games that I've gotten to play recently. So, like it a lot. It's from Bezier Games. That is Whistle Mountain, my number 8 game.
You lost my focus. Anytime anybody says around the outside, Eminem pops in
No,
my
come
head.
on.
Two trailer park girls go around the outside.
focused here.
I just keep repeating it.
Get focused. What's your number 8?
My number 8 was my number 1 of last year, and a lot of people, this came out, they were able to get it at like Essen in 2021. I did not have the option. Retail for the US was 2022, and that is Bitoku by Devere Games. I love the artwork in this game. I love the synergies when you have to choose, do I play the card now to unlock another die, or do I place the die out so that I can get premium spot, then move it across so I can get the different things that I want to do as far as, the Bitoku cards or a different bonus before somebody else can. So there's a lot of choices, and then trying to line it up so you get the different dragonflies with the spirits so you can get additional bonuses. There's a lot of different things you're doing in this game that you're trying to manage as far as the Kodama track. You've got your gate tracks at the top. You've got who's going to be first player, trying to keep those die values up so that you can get more benefits when you go to these different buildings. So you've not played it yet,
Still haven't played it.
Eventually maybe I'll get a chance to teach it to you, but I love this game. And it's just, the one thing is it's tough to teach people at times, and it can take a while to play. So everybody talks to me, they're like, oh, it's good, but it takes forever to play. I don't care. It's so fun. I don't mind sitting there playing a game for a while if it's fun. So
Number 7.
All right, number 7.
Number 7's a game that I have played co-op to show people it because they'd never played it. It's a game that I've played quite a bit, and I just got more content in today for it. So hopefully soon I can break out those new boxes, but that would be Final Girl. I'm not a huge solo gamer, but this is the solo game that I usually want to play. I love horror themed games and movies and stuff, so those tie-ins definitely reach me and make me want to get it to the table. Now, I do have certain boxes that I like more than others, and I'm really excited to get the season 2 stuff out, knowing that there's a season 3. I'll probably be getting a bunch of that as well, but for me, it's easy to play. Like I said, I can teach and play with people co-op if they want to just see it and enjoy it also. But I can just break it out and play it anytime I want solo if I have the time. And it's pretty quick, about 30 to 45 minutes. So,
Yeah, that's a good factor of it.
smallest rule book in my batch, by the way, too.
All right, we're on number 7. Number 7 is probably the newest game on my list of games. We just came out with a video on it. This game is really hot right now. It's gotten a lot of buzz. It will continue to get a lot of buzz the rest of this year because this is a fantastic game. It'll
have a copy, too.
It'll either be my number 1 or really close to my number 1 game before the end of the year. I know there's a lot to be said on that.
Voidfall's coming, man.
But Jerusalem, Anno Domini from Devere. This is a game about the Last Supper, Jesus of Nazareth. You're trying to get your followers close to him and his disciples. This is hand management. This is worker placement, not worker placement in the sense you're getting actions, but you're trying to place them in specific spots to maximize points at the end of the game. Very reminiscent of Terracotta Army, if you're familiar with that game from last year. Lots to like about this one, and the thing that I like the most about it, besides the theme, is the timing of how the game unfolds, because this is a very reactive game. You're reacting to what everybody does at the table, and you don't want to be the person who makes the first move, because then everybody else has got the advantage of reacting to what you just did. So you're really trying to slow play this out, but you do want to try to get points, because you're not going to get enough points at the end of the game to win it. So you do want to get some points here and there, but you don't want to play your hand too fast. And so I love the strategy with the timing of this game. I loved it enough that it's already my number 7 game of all the games that I own. That's how much I
And
like
he
this
owns
game.
a lot of games.
Yeah, I do. 400 some odd games. So.
I do have that game. We've played a bunch and reviewed it. So
Number 6.
All right, we're up to number 6. Now, number 6 for me was a game that used to be in my top 3, and just some other games that have come out have bumped it down the list a little bit. It's still a game that I absolutely love, and I know it's a lot of people's number 1 game or number 2 game, and that's going to be Terraforming Mars. Now, for me, I usually don't like games that go beyond 2 hours, and Terraforming Mars generally goes about 3 hours, maybe even longer than that, depending on who you're playing with. But I'm here for it when it comes to this particular game. The artwork's not great. Those 3D tiles do add enough to make it a little bit better, but
makes it way better.
The way the cards work, the so many different ways that you can deploy a strategy with this particular game and get your victory points and try to eke out a win. It's just a really fun experience. The different corporations give you different starting setups that make the game feel completely different. Lots of expansions, different boards, different maps. There's a lot to get and really dive into when it comes to Terraforming Mars. And there's a good reason why it's, in a lot of people's top 3 games of all time.
But I do have a question for you.
What's that?
Because I figured you would put Ares Expedition. Because I thought you said that would.
I did mention that game in I think our 2021 top 10 list, and I really like Ares Expedition because it's accessible. I can get it to the table probably more frequently than I can the Big Brother, but I like this one because of the amount of cards.
Okay, that works for me. I was just clarifying because I know we've had this discussion. So my number 6 is a game that. It's another one of those video games that they took to board game form. Now, it's not Steam Forge this time. It's going to be Cool Mini or Not, or CMON. And that is Bloodborne, the board game. I'm just so invested in this. I've gone through Platinum the game and played the video game 7-8 times through, I think. Every now and then I'll just go back and play through it again. I love Dark Souls, all the Souls board games. Painted everything, have everything for it. I'm still hoping that they make an Old Hunters expansion, and I will be the first. I won't be the first one at the campaign because I'll never be able to be number 1. Backing a game. I mean, it's just the odds are not there. But I will be in the first 1,000 probably. So, Bloodborne the board game. Basically doing what the other games have done, kind of to a sense, not exactly, but instead of having dice, you're doing card combat, and it does an amazing job at the card combat. So, Bloodborne, the board game, not the card game, is my number 6.
Your favorite dudes on a map kind of game?
No, because you're going to see there's more.
There's another one. Okay.
I got several more. I love dudes on the map. I love area control. This list is to give you a sense when you watch our videos what we
where
like,
we're coming from,
and you can see, hey, I like 20 out of his 25. He's got to be liking games I like.
I hated 18 out of his 25.
His games are too heavy.
Number 5.
All right, you're up to your number 5. Top 5.
We lost 100 subscribers just now.
Hopefully not.
My number 5 is the top 5 game. It's another Mind Clash game, and this is Anachrony. Now, I do have all the stuff. I don't always throw in all the expansions. I do put in stuff at time to time. Again, another game that I've spent the time to paint and upgrade, having the Infinity Box with all the upgraded flux and everything else from the previous campaign. Time travel game, the theme and the way that they created this game, put the worker placement where you're upgrading these workers over time, making them rest. I mean, there's just so many amazing things about Anachrony. I know you've probably heard of the game before. You might not have played it. It may be too heavy for you. It may be just a game that you look at and you're like, that's not for me. But for both of us, because I'm pretty sure you're going to hear about it again.
You will. This
is an awesome game, the best Mind Clash game to me. And that's out currently. Now, it's not to say there couldn't be another big one coming soon that could take over. But as of now, this is a top 5 game for me. It's been there since it came out, and that is Anachrony by Mind Clash, and the guy David Turksey does
yeah.
pretty much everything just like the other people I named.
Yeah, I'll save my thoughts because you'll hear it again. All right, my number 5 game
The game that I just sold on the way over here. I just sold that giant Chucky-sized box.
Oh yeah. Now this is a game where there's a lot that you can own for it because there's 5 or 6 expansions for it.
It's funny.
A lot of promos.
It was number 26, so it had to go. That's
man.
what it was.
Oh, well.
It was number 26. It had to go.
That is Everdell. Now I own the complete collector's box for it. It's way up on the top of my
I just
shelf.
play yours.
It's huge. It's beautiful. This is for me one
I
of
thought this was a top 3 game though.
it. Well, so my top 5 is fluid. Okay, now let me not say that. Number 1 and number 2 are pretty solid. 3 through
You've
5
had number
are
1
fluid.
and 2 there for a long time.
3 through 5 are fluid. So today it's my number 5 game. I just really enjoy the strategy that goes into it. This is worker placement, hand management, tableau building, engine building. It's just a great game. James Wilson has really, created this universe, this Everdell universe, but he started with a solid game. The base game is fantastic.
No.
If you don't play any of the expansions, just play the base game.
No.
If you like the base game, you're going to want some of the expansions.
No, you have to play with the
I don't
expansion.
know about that.
Vanilla, I do not like vanilla.
The vanilla is fine.
Pearlbrook is a minimum. I prefer Spirecrest with Belfair. I've not played the
Those
2
are great.
new ones yet. But to me, the game shines with Spirecrest and Belfair.
Those are great.
But the core game it's not it.
Oh, no, it's
not
great.
enough.
It's fantastic. The artwork is just top notch. It may be one of the best
pretty.
looking games.
Components
with
are
artwork.
good.
Components are
If you have the
fantastic. Yeah,
upgraded
Sterling
stuff.
Games, they did a great job with this.
The best thing though is the card pairing.
Yes.
How the cards pair using those log
Right.
or occupied tokens. That's the best part of the game. Worker placement is good, but getting the cards and how they pair well is the best part of everything.
Right.
Number 4.
All right, number 4. All right, so
go.
number 4 is a game for me that I just can't for the life of me figure out why more people don't love it.
I've never played it.
Because it's just a fantastic bidding experience. Serge Legat is the designer for this game, and that is Nidavellir from Gur Games. This is a game in which you are going to be bidding for cards. This is set collection. But it's also got this bidding mechanic tied into it where you are using these coins to bid, and the coins act as victory points at the end of the game, and you can upgrade 1 coin each round. So you're choosing not only which coins you're using to get the cards, because you really want to get the cards to complete your sets, but you need to also choose which coin you're going to upgrade each round. And that's really important because it's going to help you get more cards later on as the game progresses. Just fantastic blend of mechanics with this particular game. Light enough that I think a lot of casual gamers can get into it, and I know that because Sam really loved it just as much as I did. When we played it, we instantly fell in love with it. It was our number 1 game from 2021. I know it's 2020 on BGG, but for most people, you didn't get to play it till 2021. So, Nidavellir, fantastic game. He's not tried it, so
played it.
No, it's great. It's great. What's your number 4?
Another Dudes on a Map game.
Oh, imagine that.
Another Eric Lane game. Another area control game. But this one adds in diplomacy because you have to possibly pair up with someone at the table, and that will make your actions greater as you take them. But if somebody doesn't have a partner or they decide to betray you, only they get the action. And you have to, if you're going to betray, which could happen, I don't know, you have to do it at the right time. And that is Rising Sun. I like Rising Sun a little bit more than Ankh. I've not played Ankh as much yet. I just like that there's the diplomacy aspect in this game in addition to all the other things. Because a lot of similarities in the trilogy, but this one has that diplomacy aspect that is different. I have everything for it, including the mats and painted and all that stuff, even promo tower cards and stuff. But Rising Sun, I mean, it's another Asian themed game. That's a theme that I really enjoy. The artwork is just very inviting.
Yeah.
Adrian Smith did an amazing job. He also did the artwork for Ankh, but it's a whole different type of theme. And so this game, having that tea ceremony and then going through your political mandates, which are your actions, getting these big Onis and putting them on the board, and just trying to work with your partner if you have one or not, and just being able to get these different regions, because you don't really need another one of the one that you have, so you need to kind of branch out and try to work with people so that you're not constantly having to battle every single person to try to get all those war tokens. And you can't win by not winning a lot of battles by doing winner cards and things and virtue cards, but that's Rising Sun. Amazing area control dudes on a map game with some additional mechanics built within. So I just love it.
I wished I liked it as much as I liked the look of it.
It looks great, especially,
looks fantastic.
especially my painted ones, but because I've full painted everything but the clans, but it gives me a similar feeling to Scythe. Whenever I finish playing it, I just feel like fulfillment has been accomplished.
I can understand that.
Whether I win or lose, I feel like it was just this epic, battle throughout the whole 3 eras.
I just royally stink at Rising Sun.
Yeah.
I'm awful, and when you hear me say I don't like area control, that's one of the games for
why.
why.
Yeah. It's not your strong suit.
No, it is not.
Number 3.
We're up to our top 3.
Yeah, top
number 3.
My number 3 is a game I spent a lot of money. I've sold several copies, and I'm generalizing this game for you. I'm actually planning on spending even more money on this series of games, whether it's fantasy theme or space themed or Marvel themed or just different pop culture themed or even a Western theme. So that is, I have 2 rule books here to show you, because it's not just one theme, it's Zombicide in general. I have played some pretty big games of Zombicide. I've played a 10-player game for a birthday party, and I can tell you, throwing everything in the scenario and just balls to the wall for 3 hours or so trying to survive when you've got some guy that opens a door and doesn't need to just to spawn people because he's the nun and that's what he's known for. Or you have your friend that doesn't really like games like this as much and is a dwarf, and he neglects us telling him not to open the door on his first turn and dies on his first turn. So we tell him we're going to let him take it back this one time. I mean, epic big moments. I remember that, and that was like 4 or 5 years ago, like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
And that's why I've gone all in on this bad boy and got some extra aliens. I've been painting the heck out of this thing for another birthday party soon with 12 players and making it a Cowboys and Aliens mode.
That'd be really cool.
And it's going to be massive. Everything's going to be on the board. I'm not even going to have enough table space for everybody to stand there. Some people may be holding their player board. I don't know how it's going to work. But it's going to be an epic evening with 12 people
be really
playing
cool.
Cowboys and Aliens Zombicide. And hopefully I'll be continuing that with, even big games of Marvel Zombies where we have 6 versus 6, or I just got the Thundercats in for fantasy, so I can either go back. Cool. I'm trying to decide if I want to go all in on White Death, which is the newest, even though I don't know the characters as much. It is Asian themed, or if I want to just go Black Plague with Wolfsburg, because that was one of my favorites, or you could go Green Horde. So I have different options, and I may even just get a little bit of all. I'm kind of to the point where I just want to play a bunch of Zombicide and spend a lot of money on Zombicide
Throw it
again.
all in there.
What's on your shelf? Zombicide. That's all I seem to have room for anymore, is all these extra Zombicide boxes. So that's my number 3.
All right, my number 3 is a game that you heard Jeremy already mention, and it is, I have a different version. I have the Essentials version, and so it's a smaller box. I don't have all the upgrades, the metal mechs, that sort of thing.
There's no metal.
Oh, well, the
They're painted.
upgraded mechs, the painted. Yours
painted
are
them.
painted, so they look metal.
I painted them.
But that is Anachrony. I love time travel theme, and this game, I mean, in a board game sense, makes you feel like you're actually time traveling as you're borrowing a resource from the
The
future.
anomalies happen.
And you got to make sure towards the end of the game that you actually pay that resource back, because that's you going back in time and giving it to your past self. I love that mechanic. It just makes it feel so rich. But even if you took that mechanic out of the game, the worker placement, resource management, and the impending doom of needing to get everything figured and straightened out before the world comes to an end just really makes you feel anxious the entire time, and a good anxious, a good sense of panic, a good sense of dread.
But that's a game where the base, I think, is still enough.
Yeah.
So the extra stuff is fluff, and it's really nice to have changes and different ways to play it. But the core game in this one is enough.
Yeah.
I think if you took like the base of our top 3, maybe even our top 5, you would see that the base is enough. It's nice to have extras, but there's still quite a bit in and that's one of them.
And this is also one of my favorite games to solo. There's a solo mode out there.
Chronobot. But you haven't had the new one.
No,
new
but
Chronobot.
I got it printed.
Oh, you did?
I got a print
okay, I was
play
gonna say,
version
there's
of
a
it,
new one
so-
that's supposed to be even
Yeah.
better.
Number 2.
Number 2, my
shame.
number 2 game,
Such a shame.
and it's been my number 2 for a very, very,
Such a
very long
shame.
time, and you're gonna hear it again
Oh, yeah.
because
That's a
somebody
shame.
can't believe it's not my number 1.
Well, I mean, you don't win as much. I mean, that's probably why.
I win a ton, just not when I'm playing against him.
Solo. You're a solo winner. That's
No,
it.
not solo.
The Automa
I win on the digital version, the app.
solo.
No, against the bots.
Solo.
Is Scythe. And there's so much to like about Scythe. And again, I'm not an area control kind of guy, but I don't feel like Scythe is so area control. I think it's
There's
more,
an aspect, but it's not.
it's everything else. It's resource management, it's
The engine.
upgrading, it's engine building, it's
Action selection.
action selection. Yeah, that's what it is. Now there is
It's a race.
It is a race. That's the 100%. That's what it is, and that's what I like about it. That race aspect of constantly trying to figure out what's the optimal move to get me my next star. But then at the same time, am I also getting the most points? Because just because you get to 5 stars doesn't mean you win the game, or 6 stars.
6 stars.
Doesn't mean you win the game. You got to have the points backed up behind it too, and that's where everything else comes into play. So. I know a lot of people will knock it because they think there should be more combat in it, or it looks like
There
it's the
can
type
be.
of game that, and it's not the type of game that it looks like it is. I don't care about that. I care about the type of game that it actually is.
There can be more combat.
There can be a lot of combat for sure, and depending on what faction you are, you might be going all out
Well,
combat.
no, it's if somebody attacks you and there's no reason, you just go back and forth. I've had
Oh, yeah.
that happen.
Oh, yeah, for
there
sure.
can be a lot of combat. It's just usually not the best way to play.
Right, and I like the efficiency with this game, because that's what this is. Like Jeremy said, it's a race game, so you're really trying to figure out, how can I be most efficient with my turns? How can I figure out the quickest path to 6 stars? I don't want to keep saying 5. To 6 stars, while at the same time maximizing my victory points behind those stars. I love it. The only reason why it's not my number 1 game is because my number 1 game came first. If I would have probably experienced Scythe before my number 1 game, it might be my number 1 game, but I have kind of an allegiance to my number 1 game. So I'm going to leave it at that.
I think if you would have played Scythe when I did at Denny's with all the upgrades, and it would be probably like what Orleans
just
is
open minds.
mind blowing.
Well, don't ruin the surprise.
They could probably see your rule book
I'm
there.
sure.
I mean, the Blue
If you've
Knight.
watched some of my other videos, I've already mentioned what my number 1 game of all time is.
My number 2 is a game that was already mentioned. I do have everything for it, including the tiles, which this is a game that for a long time I said I never own because the artwork is just not good at all. But when they had their newest Kickstarter, they did have the 3D tiles that you could print, or that you could purchase, as well as a big box that held everything, as well as card sleeves, custom card sleeves, which make the artwork and everything much better It's just the backside of the card, but still, it's much better. It gives you that upgraded feel, like the game has developed and gotten better. It's a game I've played a bunch, and I really like this game. It's a game that I didn't, like I said, I didn't think I'd ever own it. I was fine playing other people's copies. I wasn't great at it at the beginning. I'm probably still not the best at it. I feel like I'm good at it. It's a game that I think you do want to add in Prelude almost every time.
Yeah.
Because it just makes it even better. But I like that there's different maps. I just found out within the last 6 months to a year that they have custom maps that people created. Had no clue. Definitely want to try them out because you can get them printed on like grip mats and stuff. Still planning on getting those in the future. Realizing it's my number 2 on my list. Maybe more of a justification to get more of those maps like the 2 I posted on Instagram. Great company, grip mats, great sticky feel that you can get so those tiles aren't sliding around. The Terraforming Mars is an awesome engine builder. A lot of people say it's outdated and you might as well play Ark Nova now. I played Ark Nova. I feel like for your time frame, this is personally I find this to be better than that. I feel like this is played a lot quicker than that. Even though you said it's long for your games, I feel like it's still quicker than the other one. So Terraforming Mars, it's been on top 10 for a long time. If you've been around board games, you already know. You've probably already played it before. If not, the artwork may hold you back like it did me for a long time, but the more you play it, you're like, oh, that's actually a really good game. And if you can get some upgrades and stuff, it'll definitely help make that experience better, even with the artwork that you may not really have an appetite for.
And finally, number 1!
All right. Our number 1 game of all time that we own. What's your number 1?
I think you should go ahead and go.
Should I go first?
Because they can already see your
All right,
rule book
well.
and
Well, they can
mine
see
too,
yours.
but I already kind of whispered it.
All right, so my number 1 game of all time is Orleans. And for me, it is the only, well, I shouldn't say the only, but it's bag building. And bag building is a mechanic that I would think that I would love every time I experience because of what my experience was with Orleans. But in all honesty, most bag building games that I try after having played Orleans, I don't like. And it doesn't meet up to the expectation that I have for bag building because of Orleans. And that may mean that's not fair to all those other games, but too bad. I like Orleans. I love the bag building. I love pulling out of the bag and seeing what tokens I have and what I can use those tokens to do on my particular turn. I like trying to figure out what the optimal turn is for what I have, while at the same time I'm trying to get to places first before everyone else. Another game Jeremy mentioned, Tillatum. I feel very similar vibes with Tillatum. I mentioned that in our review video with it, and that's one reason why I really love Tillatum, because it makes me feel similar vibes as Orleans, and Orleans is my number 1 game. I just absolutely love it.
But what's the correlation? Because
Getting to places first, because you're building your warehouses when you move across the board and trying to get to a spot. Because once you get there, nobody else can
the artwork
have
of the map is what makes you.
Well,
think
yeah,
it the
and the
most.
artwork is similar.
That's what really makes you think.
It's similar geography. You're in the same part of the world. There's a lot of similar vibes that I have for it. Now, Tillatum's not bag building. It's action selection with your dice and everything. But with this, man, I don't even know how to describe it all because of how much I really enjoy this game. Number 1 and number 2 are very close for me, but man, they are so far apart from everything else on my list that, you know, it's hard to ever see them ever being dethroned from their top spots for me. So
I have a copy. It was number 27.
oh, come on, man.
It was.
And I do have the expansions. I know you can't see it. I've got the expansions.
You should buy my promo top.
I think I already own them. I looked through the box and I think I have them. So, but I love the expansions. I love the big box. I love soloing it. I even like the roll and write version that I put a video out on not too long ago. I don't like it as much as the actual game, and I don't like the stories box. I haven't gotten too far into that, but I do really, really, really love
The core game.
the core game. Yeah. So, Orleans, that's my number one of all time.
Big separation between my number one and every other game.
Okay.
It's the one that introduced me to the world of what games can be with the realistic resources and the mechs on the board. You already know, if you know anything about me, is Scythe. I mean, I even bought the upgraded Spiral Bound rule book. I mean, that's why my stack's been bigger than Lance's. I mean, this is
That
like
takes
half
up,
of
like,
his, half of
my
his 12
stack.
of his games right
Yeah.
here. I do have everything. I have the big box, have custom airships painted. I have painted and actually updated the painting on my mech since I've been painting quite a bit more. I have everything for it. I love just about everything. I love playing different factions and testing them out. So been through the whole campaign, partially through a second campaign. It's just, when I finish, I'm like Elaine, I'm like in Seinfeld when they're like, she just feels satisfied from the risotto. I just feel like I finished Scythe.
I wonder where you were going with that.
I just feel complete. Like, even if I lose, I feel like playing that hour and a half
Yeah.
of Scythe is just so fulfilling.
is.
I get to play it maybe 1 or 2 times a year because y'all are tired of losing to me, and so I played it.
I probably play it more than you do at this point.
But I've played it probably more than almost every game that I have.
Yeah.
And that's with people not wanting to play as much. And Brandon came over and he was like, "Man, he's just killing it." It's just, you kind of have ways that you do different factions,
you can become
and if
an
people,
expert in Scythe.
there are
Yeah.
different ways that people can try and spoil your plans, but if you're a reactive gamer like I am, you can get around that.
Yeah.
There are ways to trigger the end of Scythe, and that's what you want to play to. That's what the race is for.
Yeah.
And I just feel like every time I play it, of all the games we play, I feel very confident that I'm going to have a very good chance, no matter the faction. If I play Polania, I have a lesser chance. But pretty much every other faction, I feel like I have a very good chance to win that game. And I do welcome people to, play hard and try to take me out. And that's perfectly great with me. I love it in the game. And if I lose, then I still feel like, well, I placed 6 stars. I lost by 2 coins. Like, I still feel satisfied in the game when I lose.
Yeah.
I mean, completely satisfied. It's not like it was fun. No, I have a blast every time I play Scythe. And it's even when I have a faction that the board is like awful for.
Yeah.
I still feel like, yes, there are these hurdles I'm trying to get through, but I love the game that much.
Yeah.
That it's just the action selection, the resource management, upgrading that board, knowing which ones to really focus on based on where I'm at on the map, which ones not to, having the different options to change up the game between, 9 different factions, and then you have the modular board that you can set up. I have the playmat I break out usually, so I don't use the modular board very often, but then to throw in the different win gamut tiles, so the different in-game conditions. I mean, the last one we did was one we hadn't done, I don't think, before, and it was just, it ended the game differently, but it was still a blast. And so this, and I always say, I don't know if it will ever be dethroned because, like Orleans was for you, it's the game that blew my mind. That
Yep.
This is, because I played a lot of heavy games right out the gate whenever I first started getting into gaming with people, and this was one of those games, and Blood Rage and things like that. I wasn't a big Blood Rage fan, but this one, seeing everything on the board and the realist, I was like, this looks like food. This is oil.
Unbelievable.
I feel like I was just,
Yeah.
I was the one
Yeah.
under the rock at that point, and the veil was removed, and I could see this
Oh
is
my
what,
gosh.
and since then I've been I like to say I'm a collector first. I collect it. Now, it doesn't mean I'm going to keep it forever. I'm not a hoarder, but I do collect games and try to keep them in pristine condition the best I can. And then it may go and I'll constantly upgrade games. If you've watched our channel, you know we've done different upgrading things to our games, and I like deluxe nice games. As far as mechanics I like, that's deluxe. That's a mechanic I like. How can I upgrade this game and make it just fabulous on the table so I can give my friends or new people that I invite over the same experience of a mind-blowing wow factor that I got that made me love this hobby so much.
Well, there you have it, guys. That's our top 25 of all time.
I should move my stack over
or
here.
at least the games that we own anyway, which if you love a game, wouldn't you own it? Although I said that about Peloton.
I feel like the majority of these games, and that's why they are owned, is because usually I seek out games I really like.
So what I want to know from you all out there, let us know in the comment section below who has the better list. Is it me or is it Jeremy? Or are we both terrible? Let us know. Let us know in the comments. Let us know what games you like, what your top 25 lists are of the games that you own, not games you want to own or games that you tried once on a blue moon. I want to know the top 25 games that you own. Leave them in the comment section down below.
Is it a competition? I feel like
it is a competition.
I feel like
yes,
we all know the stacks.
You better vote for me. Anyway,
I have more top 10s right here. I have more top 20 games right now.
Also, what I would also like to know is what games are we missing? If there's a game out there that you think would be a game that either one of us would really like based off of the list that we've shared that I need to buy, let me know because I want to track it down.
They're going to say TI4 and you'll never play it.
Oh, gosh.
They're going to say you need to buy TI4, which I've owned Eclipse, not TI4, and I have Voidfall coming. That's why I got rid of Eclipse, both the second and the first edition. But you said you'll never play TI4.
I mean, I don't know. I might.
You said you won't devote 8 hours to it.
I like Twilight Inscription just well enough. So
I want to get you in a game of TI4 just so you can experience that 7 to 9 hour game.
Gosh,
so good. So
anyway, if you like this video, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon. We really do appreciate that. Lets us know that you enjoy the hard work that we put into these videos. Makes our day. So, I'm Lance.
I'm Jeremy.
And we are Hard to Master, where we take a look at games that are
hard to master.
We'll catch you next time.
We'll see ya.